Hi, Professor. Dr. Nofri Anita. Dr. Nofri, you need to turn on your mic.
Hello.
Hi, how are
Hel-
you?
Hello, Dr. Shah. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I'm able
Yeah,
to.
good. Okay,
I want
let
to
me start
increase
my
the
video.
volume, Dr.
Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah, your volume alone, if you could manage little higher.
All right. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, yes, yes. Hi, hi, hi. I'm-
Hi.
so, how are
So
you
it's
doing?
good morning there.
Yeah, almost in the after. I mean,
We
just
here afternoon.
at 11 o'clock. Yeah. So, how is life? How is COVID treating you?
Sorry?
How is COVID treating you?
Yeah, most of the time still working from home.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, you do go and visit the university too
Yeah, sometimes.
sometimes.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Prof. Isha, can you hear me clearly without any interruption?
No interruption, but volume only. You just check your volume whether it is okay.
Only volume.
Yes.
Testing, testing.
Yes, yes. Fine. I think all the participants are able to hear well. If not, you can message no.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Audible, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's good.
Because when we are in online, we need to worry about the audio and video.
Yeah.
Audible, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I welcome all of you. Uh, so, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants from different parts of the world at different time zones. And we are in the second day of our international webinar with wonderful experts from Malaysia, UITM University. And today we are going to have one another energetic speaker. So before that, let us introduce the theme of our conference and the topic of today. We all see the energy crisis, which is very significant bottleneck in the supply of energy resources to the economy. In literature, it often refers to one of the energy sources used at a certain time and place, in particular those that supply national electricity grids or those used as fuel in industrial development and population growth have led to a surge in the global demand for energy in recent years. I can also say that there is a battle over technology and energy consumption. Insatiable demands for data have triggered startling projections on how much electricity is consumed to power the internet. But technology itself, along with strategic regulations, could keep our energy needs in check. There are various causes of the global energy crisis, and there are so many solutions too. And one such solution is using solar energy. The solar power is a key to a clean energy future. Every day, the sun gives off far more energy than we need to power everything on Earth. That's why we are investing heavily on solar plants, and no greenhouse gas emissions are released into the atmosphere when you use solar panels to create electricity. Researchers have developed a way to better harness the volume of energy collected by the solar panels. In a new study I've heard and read, the researchers developed an algorithm that increases the efficiency of the solar photovoltaic system and reduces the volume of power currently being wasted due to a lack of effective controls. Malaysia is poised to be the leading nations in the solar industry, and the nation is ranked third in producing photovoltaic cells and modules, making it well positioned to benefit from spillover effects of the growing solar power usage worldwide. And I'm also really surprised to read some of the articles related to the power. Researchers in the United States and South Korea have invented a new kind of yarn that can generate electricity when it is stretched or twisted. The material called twistron could be used to harvest energy from the motion of ocean waves or from changes in temperature. When you insert the carbon nanotube yarn into the electrolyte bath, the yarns are charged by the electrolyte itself and no external battery or voltage is needed. The twistron yarn, weighing less than a house fly, could power a small LED which lit up each time the yarn was stretched. A lot of things of innovations and researches are going on. And today we are going to have an enlightening speaker who is working on solving the country's energy problem, and the very, very well-known, the world famous Associate Professor Dr. Nofri Enita Dehlan is here with us, and she's a Deputy Director of University of Technology Mara, and it is in Malaysia. And she received her electrical engineering degree, Bachelor of Engineering Honors from University Tenaga Nasional, Malaysia in 2001, and MSc degree from University of Manchester Institute of Science and Technology, UK in 2003, and PhD degree in the field of energy economics from the University of Manchester, UK in 2011. And Dr. Nofri is an associate professor in the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, University of Mara, and currently she serves as a deputy director of UITM Solar Energy Research Center. And her interests are power generation investment, energy economics and policy, electricity market, energy modeling, energy savings and efficiency, and renewable energy. And she has won a lot of credits and awards in recognition of her achievements in the fields. She has been awarded a certified measurement and verification professional from the Efficiency Valuation Organization and Association of Energy Engineers, USA. And Dr. Nofri was one of the 14 early and mid-career scientists from 8 Asian countries who was awarded the 2015-16 Asian US Science and Technology Fellowship, which was managed by the Asian US. She is also a trainer for certified professional in measurement and verification and technical expert for Green Tech Malaysia. Under these capacities, she has trained more than 300 measurement and verification practitioners and involved in M&V audit for more than 30 energy performance contracts and green technology projects in Malaysia. And owing to our experience in energy modeling, she has been invited as APEC energy expert and speaker in several workshops of APEC funded project, integrated energy system planning for equitable access to sustainable energy for remote communities in the APEC regions using North Sulawesi as a pilot project test bed organized by Australia-Indonesia Center in 2018. And she has also been appointed a United Nations Industrial Development Organization policy consultant for conducting Malaysia Solar Thermal Roadmap deployment plan activities and market analysis study under the Malaysia Energy Efficiency and Solar Thermal Application Project. And her appointment as a 2015-2016 Asian US Science and Technology Fellow from Malaysia focusing on energy security has opening new doors to international collaborations. She was selected as the S&T Fellowship's first ambassador visiting Washington, D.C. in May 2016 to share her experiences as fellow with various organizations. She also had the opportunity to attend the Science Diplomacy Symposium organized by the American Association for the Advancement Science, where she presented her fellowship experience and accomplishments while networking with American fellows. So here it is, our Dr. Nofri, the well-known a guest speaker today of our session. And over to you, Dr. Nofri.
Thank you very much, Dr. Usha, for a very long introduction. Okay, I would like to thank you for inviting me as a speaker for this session. Okay, so without further ado, let me share my presentation. Can you still hear me clearly, Dr. Usha?
Yeah, I hope the participants are comfortable. Yeah.
If it is in the full screen mode, it will be better, ma'am.
Full screen mode. Okay, let me find. Okay, can you see the full screen mode?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So for today, I would like to share a topic about solar thermal technology development for industrial process heat. And my name is Nofri. You can call me Nofri, as currently I'm attached to UITM Solar Energy Research Institute. So before I start with my presentation, I would like to ask, have you seen this solar energy technology before, especially on the rooftop of the house? Anyone?
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, I think most of you have seen this technology on the rooftop, especially on the residential houses. But do you notice there is a difference between these two technology? Okay, so when people think of solar energy, they often envision a bank of solar photovoltaic panels that is producing electricity to lighten the lights and the household appliance. And knowing that the use of photovoltaic cell to convert sunlight, the energy from the sun into electricity has contributed to significant reduction of CO2 emission. However, another important and simpler use of the sun rays often goes overlooked. That is the generation of usable heat. That's called solar technology. So if you can see, there are two solar technology here. So the top one, so this is what we call as solar thermal technology. And the famous one, down here, the bottom one, this is called photovoltaic technology that used for producing electricity to lighten up your lamp and power up your household appliance at home. But there is another technology that usually overlooked. The top one, this is called solar thermal technology. So this solar thermal technology producing hot water for household. So for today, I will not talk about solar photovoltaic, but I will talk about solar thermal technology and how this solar thermal contribute to reducing the energy sources and reducing the CO2 emission. Okay, so solar collector, hold on, sorry. Okay, so solar collector is a component that absorbs solar irradiation from the sun as a heat and transfer the heat to a working fluid such as water. Okay, so there are a number type of solar thermal collector. The non-tracking, that is the stationary one, single axis tracking, and two axis tracking collector. So for this presentation, I would like to focus on the flat plate and the evacuated tube collector, which is fall under the non-tracking stationary collector, which produce heat for the low and medium temperature. So solar thermal collector can also produce high temperature that can be used as a power plant to generate electricity. But for this session, I would like to share about the solar thermal for the industry use for their heating process at the low and medium temperature. Okay, so more detail about the solar collector and its application. Yeah, so if you can see the top one, this is called evacuated tube and the flat plate. So these two solar thermal collector, you can see it everywhere on top of the roof, especially for the residential area. Yeah, so this.
Ma'am, it's not audible.
Not audible. Hello, hello.
Yeah, you need to raise your voice.
I need to raise my voice.
I think so.
Can you hear me?
Ma'am, we are able to hear you, but the thing is, little bit you can raise your voice, ma'am.
Okay. I think I already speak very loud here. Okay.
All are majority are teachers, so. Okay.
Okay, again, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, okay, back to this slide. So for stationary type collector, so the flat plate collector and the evacuated tube collector, this is the most used collector which can produce heat in the range of for the low and medium temperature. For example, for flat plate collector, so it used for heating up the pool, for crop drying, and for the low temperature industrial process heat. And if evacuated tube collector is also another collector that has been used widely, that can produce temperature between 50 to 200. So this evacuated tube collector, it has a vacuum tube, and the application is possible for space heating, space cooling, and medium temperature industrial process heat. So as you can see in this photo, so the top one, this is the evacuated tube. So you can see there is a vacuum tube here, and the flat plate is just like a mirror. So this is what we call as flat plate. Okay, and these two, the bottom two, the heliostat and the parabolic dish. So this is the type of two-axis tracking collector, which can produce a very high temperature. For example, the parabolic dish can produce temperature between 100 to 500 degrees temperature, and heliostat can produce between 150 to 2000 degrees Celsius. And these two application is for power generation. But again, for this talk, I will focus more on the low and medium temperature application. Okay, so this is the flat plate and evacuated tube, more into the principle. So for the flat plate collectors, so this is the most commonly used collectors in Europe. So about 83.8% of solar thermal installed capacity in Europe is using a flat plate collector. This is cheaper, require less maintenance, and suitable for producing temperature between 30 to 80 degrees Celsius. So the principle is simple. So when the solar irradiation hit the surface of the collector, like a mirror, And then the radiation will pass through the transparent cover and reach the absorber plate and heat up the transfer material fluid such as water. And the other collector, this is an evacuated tube. So this evacuated tube is the predominant technology used worldwide, with 70.5% of total solar thermal installed capacity globally. And evacuated tube produce higher temperature than flat plate, which is ranging from 50 to 130 degrees Celsius. And it has a more advanced technology than flat plate, where it uses a vacuum tube, to transfer the material running through the U-shaped tube that has the heating plate in the tube. Okay, let's look how this solar thermal technology works globally. So globally, there are 35 gigawatt thermal, flat plate and vacuum tube technology were commissioned in 2017. So bringing the total capacity to an estimated of 472 gigawatt thermal by end of 2017. And this translating into a total collected area of about 622 million meters square. And China accounts for the maximum installation out of this, which is 71% of this capacity, followed by US, United States, Turkey, India. India has a lot of solar thermal, Brazil, US, Germany, and Australia. So what I want to focus today is the use for solar heat for industrial process. So globally, solar heat or solar thermal has been used for producing hot water for swimming pool or for residential and domestic consumer. But for industrial process, it is still in the infancy stage of development. However, there is a huge potential for solar thermal application in industry. In 2006, there were 90 operating solar thermal systems for process heat worldwide, with a total capacity of about 25 megawatt thermal. And these only account about 0.02% of the solar thermal installed capacity worldwide. And there are increase in scenario in 2014 as 120 operating solar thermal systems for process heat have been installed worldwide, which is equivalent to a total capacity of 88 megawatt thermal, 125,000 meters square. Nevertheless, a huge potential is still available, as more than 80% of untapped potential of energy efficiency is seen for the industry for the period to 2035. Okay, so what are the motivational factors to consider solar thermal for process heat in industry? So this is the figure that I obtained for Europe. So in Europe, industrial sector covering about 26% of the final energy consumption in 2012, 26%. And more than 60% of this energy used in industry are used for heating, and no less than 40% are used for electricity. So there are lots of potential that can be used for heating, for process heating in industry. And major of the share, the 60% that I mentioned, of the heating energy needed in industrial sector is for low and medium temperature. So low and medium temperature, low is defined as the temperature range between 20 to 100 degrees Celsius, and medium temperature is from 100 to 25 to 150 degrees Celsius. And this low and medium temperature is a temperature that could be supplied by the available solar thermal technology that I mentioned earlier, that is evacuated tube and flat plate solar collector. And a study by EcoHeat in 2006 report that 30% of the total industrial heat demand require only low and medium temperature. So it's huge potential here for using solar thermal in industry to produce heat temperature for low and medium process. So mapping of industrial sector with heating and cooling process. Okay, so we can see that the industry, such as food and beverages, for paper, textile, wood, automobile, rubber industry, this is the subsector that fall under the low and medium temperature range. And for example, for chemical subsector, the heating is used for cleaning process, drying, evaporation, distillation, pasteurization, sterilization, and other general process heat. So this low and medium temperature range, as I mentioned earlier, are suitable for solar thermal technology for the use of simple collectors such as flat plate and the evacuated tube. Okay, apart from the industry, hotels and hospitals, which are the commercial building, also have tremendous potential for deployment of solar thermal technology, specifically for heating and space cooling requirement. So solar thermal technology not only can produce heat, but also can produce, can also help for space cooling. So the most commonly used heat transfer medium for low and medium temperature process is steam or hot water. So for hospital and hotel, the process include for washing, heating, bleaching, dyeing, cooking, and other process. Okay, so this is a more detail on a process, industrial sector, the process involved, and what are the temperature required. So this process and this subsector, you can see it's required temperature, the low and medium temperature. Okay, I'll give you an example here. A few solar thermal plant. For example, here in Austria, for meat industry, with an installed capacity of 746.9 kilowatt thermal, and with the collector area of 106.7 meters square, using flat plate panel, and it used for the integration at the supply level for heating of makeup water. Another example, so this is in Switzerland for machinery and equipment industry. So solar thermal is integrated at heating at the distribution network for heating up the distribution network, and then goes to the downstream process. Okay, now I would like to share how this solar thermal is potential to be used in the case of Malaysia. Yeah, so I share you the energy requirement in Malaysia as a whole. Yeah, so similar to the case in Europe, so industrial in Malaysia use nearly 30% of energy. And here is the contribution of this energy from each of the industrial subsector in Malaysia. So as you can see, this energy is mostly used by the iron and steel, non-metallic mineral product, food, beverage, and tobacco, chemical industry, for pulp, paper, and printing, textile and leather, wood and wood product. So some of this industry, as you look in the previous slide, needs only low and medium temperature for their industrial heat, which is very suitable for solar thermal. And this is the graph for the energy requirement in Malaysian commercial building. So space cooling or air conditioning make up 60% of the energy needs, and solar thermal technology can be looked at as a medium to fulfill space cooling requirement. So solar thermal is not only for heating, but also can be used for space cooling by integrating this solar thermal with a special chiller, absorption chiller. So for heating application, hotel use electric heaters used in kitchen and bath area, while for hospital, it used for hot water and steam generation for sterilization, distillation, and also other requirement. And as for Malaysia, we are blessed with high solar energy potential. We have high irradiation and with a long sunshine duration that is range between 4 to 8 hours in a day, which is good for solar thermal deployment. Okay, so solar heat potential for Malaysian industry, as I presented earlier, Malaysia has a big potential for this solar thermal application, where more than 28% of the total final energy demand in 2016 was used by industry. And most of the industrial energy demand in Malaysia are from food, beverage and tobacco, followed by chemical and pulp and paper, textile and wood product, which use low and medium temperature solar process. And these medium and low temperature can be met by a simple solar thermal technology, such as flat plate and also evacuated tube. Okay, and further, in Malaysia, we have high irradiation and long hours solar resources from the sun. Okay, I show you very few successful case example in Malaysia. So there are one demonstration plant this is for food processing industry, the Poultry Processing Malaysia PPNJ company that use solar thermal for processing and preserving meat and production of meat product. So the technology employed in this study is evacuated tube collector with the gross collector area of 181 square meter and translating into capacity of 163 kilowatt hour thermal. So for this case, the heat produced range between 70 to 75 degrees Celsius to meet the requirement, the process requirement of using this solar thermal application. So the industry has reduced their energy about 95% and has also contribute to significant reduction in CO2 emission. Another example of a case study is for hotel here. So the Temasek Hotel located in Malacca. For those who have been to Malaysia, so Malacca is one of the historical places. So this Temasek Hotel employs solar thermal for obtaining hot water for 20,000 liters of hot water. From this application, the hotel have reduced 284 megawatt hour of their annual energy and have have saving of 125,000 ringgit Malaysia. Another example is for hospital. So this is one of the university hospital in Malaysia. So the solar thermal is used to produce hot water for this hospital. Very low temperature, which is about 40 to 60 degrees of hot water. And as everyone knows that, like most of the renewable energy technology, solar thermal also contributes to higher upfront costs and significantly lower variable costs, like operational and maintenance costs. However, not like solar PV, the system costs can greatly differ and are very much dependent on the energy requirement, availability of roof and the area, the land area, desired efficiency, life expectancy, and the quality of the material. So usually usually payback time is depending on the existing fuel that the solar thermal is replacing. Yeah, for instance, the payback period for replacing diesel is about 3 to 5 years. LPG is about 4 to 6 years, and natural gas is about 5 to 7 years. Okay, sorry that there are so much word here. Okay, so here I would like to talk about what are the barriers in Malaysia of implementing this solar thermal technology. Okay, so I divide this into 5 components, which is the policy and regulatory, financial aspect, awareness and capacity building, testing, certification and standardization, and the R&D. So looking at the policy and regulatory framework, in Malaysia, the policy have focused more on the renewable energy that produce electricity to the grid rather than thermal application. There are no supportive policy and regulatory yet for thermal energy in Malaysia. Yeah. And many programs, incentive and R&D activities related to solar energy in Malaysia have mainly emphasized on the development of solar photovoltaic for the grid electricity. And because of thermal, solar thermal is a isolated project, a standalone project, and it's not a grid connected. It's very hard to get data from the energy, the data, thermal energy demand data, and because of that, it's hard for the government to develop policy and the target setting for solar thermal energy. In terms of the financial aspect, local bank is not very familiar with solar thermal, but they're familiar with photovoltaic. Scarce dedicated solar thermal lending facility focusing on the solar thermal, lack of awareness among industry on available financial incentive, few solar thermal showcase project as a reference for banks to finance, to see the project viability, and unguaranteed income, not like the feed-in tariff program that developed for solar photovoltaic, where you can sell it to the grid, and then utility or government can buy it. So there is a certain income generation there, and a lack of standard for proper technical and financial evaluation for solar thermal. And in terms of awareness and capacity building, there is lack of exposure to industry, to government, to the bank, on the know-how and solar thermal technology. Limited solar thermal technology in renewable energy syllabus in educational institution, because many of university also focusing on the grid connected electricity power production, and also lack of collaboration between industry, training and educational institution in conducting and developing competence and certified solar thermal training. And if for in Malaysia case, in terms of standard and certification, we still don't have a specific standard for component in solar thermal system, such as solar collector and storage tank, for the industry to commonly refer, and non-existent for how to design, how to do the installation, operation, and maintenance of this solar thermal. There is no existence of standard, especially for safety and performance. No specific guideline on how to do the thermal energy auditing before we can install the solar thermal to industry or commercial building. And as for this moment, thermal energy audit in Malaysia is not mandatory by the government and is only voluntary basis. So in terms of R&D, a big potential for R&D in solar thermal. As for now, there are still lack of successful solar thermal pilot project in Malaysia, limited R&D on cost-effective system integration, absence of study in the area of social science, especially on the economic impact, the policy, the market gap, risk analysis, techno-economic of this solar thermal application in industry. Lack of digitization of solar thermal technology for data collection. So if we have in future, if we have more solar thermal technology in industry, so digitization can help to gather the data from this solar thermal and help government to design a proper policy and target setting for this thermal energy and solar thermal. And in terms of R&D, there are still lack of collaboration between industry and university or research center in this particular subject. Okay, so for that, Malaysia government has embarked in a program that called Malaysia Energy Efficiency and Solar Thermal Application Project to powering solar thermal growth in Malaysia. So this project is a joint project with United Nations Industrial Development Organization (UNIDO) with the fund from Global Environment Facility (GEF). It's a 5 years project started in 2014. Okay, so I involved basically in this project. Yeah, so there are 3 core project components. Yeah, so component 1 focus on the development of regulatory framework, support program and financial incentive scheme to facilitate solar thermal energy utilization. Component 2, awareness raising and capacity building program relating to process heating and cooling optimization and solar thermal energy utilization. And component 3, demonstration and scaling up of sector specific EE. Component 3, basically, we are looking for 10 demonstration projects in industry, hotel, and also hospital. Okay, so for this presentation, I would like to focus on component 1, where I involved as a policy consultant for this project. So we have basically produced 2 documents and 2 studies. So the first one is solar thermal market analysis for Malaysian industry. So for this output, I would like to share with you the findings. Okay, so this is the methodology. Basically, these documents specify the potential of solar thermal technology for heating and cooling process in industry and commercial building like hotel and hospital. Okay, so this is a methodology that have been used to estimate the solar thermal potential, where we start with the consumption, the industrial subsector consumption, and then we use some multiplier here, energy efficiency multiplier, thermal energy multiplier, more process mapping multiplier, and solar fraction. And then finally, we come up with the solar thermal net market potential for industry and also for hospital and hotels. Okay, so this is the finding. Okay, so from the energy use and consumption in hospital, hotel, and industry, so we estimate that the potential thermal energy potential in industry, hotel, and hospital is 7.955 gigawatt hour in Malaysia. And this can be translated into solar thermal capacity potential of around 4.86 gigawatt thermal, with 4.39 gigawatt thermal for heating and 0.47 gigawatt thermal for space cooling. Yeah. And considering the current state of solar thermal installation and experience of other countries, in the calculation, a penetration of 20% for heating application and 10% for cooling application has been used to calculate the solar thermal capacity potential. Okay, so this is the solar thermal deployment target up to 2025. So you can see this is the penetration that have been considered for sector industry, hotel for heating process, hospital for heating, and hotel and hospital for space cooling. So a total solar thermal capacity of 939 megawatt thermal is expected by 2025, out of which 839 megawatt thermal will be deployed for heating requirement and 54 megawatt thermal will be deployed for space cooling requirement. So a smaller percentage of penetration has been used for space cooling requirement. This is because space cooling technology using solar thermal is still new and the cost is still expensive. Yeah, so further, this potential required an overall collector area deployment of 1.3 million meters square. Okay, so with this deployment target of 939 megawatt thermal by year 2025, we expected that 326.9 ringgit Malaysia million of yearly fuel saving can be obtained. 6,000 of people can be employed. 0.8% of energy saving. What else? And contribute to 0.19% of COP21 greenhouse gas reduction target share. Okay, so without intervention from the government and from the stakeholder, the solar thermal potential will not be achieved. Yeah, so this document also highlight what are the potential key areas of intervention in order to meet or in order to realize the potential, the solar thermal potential that have been calculated. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Carry on, Nofri.
Okay, that's good. So for the key areas of intervention, there are 5 focus areas that has been highlighted here from the barriers that that we discovered. So these 5 focus areas involve policy and regulatory, financing, testing, certification, and standardization, awareness and capacity building, and technology and R&D. This is a long version. I will go later because from all this recommendation, we have done a study and we have done a workshop with stakeholder and only choose recommendation that is viable to be conducted by government and industry. So I will not explain or I will not describe this. Okay, so in order to select from all these recommendation that has been highlighted in the market analysis study, we conduct another study which is the solar thermal deployment strategy for Malaysian industry. So from all the recommendation that highlighted from the first study, we refine and we select which are the most suitable and the most effective one to be deployed in the near future. So we come up with another policy brief that calls Solar Thermal Deployment Strategy for Malaysian Industry. So in this exercise, we collaborate, we engage stakeholder, get the view, and conduct a number of workshops to get view from the stakeholder, government, industry, energy player, of which intervention that should we proceed earlier in order to speed up the development of solar thermal for industry and also hotel and hospital. So there are 5 focus key recommendations here, as I mentioned earlier. And this is the output from the workshop. So we have defined all the recommendation into three period, the short term, medium term, and long term period. So for this presentation, I only show the short term strategy from this exercise. So what we found and what we want to proceed, training, module, and certification. So training, module, and certification is needed. So we have trained a number of experts from this UNIDO project. So we will utilize these people to continue for the sustainability of this UNIDO program. So a more capacity building, training module, and certification will be developed, focusing on the design and also performance monitoring of this technology. So for this initiative, UNIDO will collaborate with SEDA, Sustainable Energy Development Authority, which is an agency under Ministry of Energy. And then we also discover more competency training, national competency and skill certificate for thermal energy efficiency and solar thermal technology should be developed. And to develop this competency training, UNIDO will engage Ministry of Human Resource. They have a standard. They have the procedure to recognize the competency, so that we want this solar thermal training to be recognized at the national level. And since there are no thermal energy guideline available in Malaysia, yes, we are currently also engaging Energy Commission Malaysia to establish thermal energy guideline for the appropriate and higher quality of practice on how to do thermal energy audit and energy management system for industry and also commercial building. As for now, we only have energy audit guideline for electricity, but not for thermal. And since there is no industrial standard also available for thermal, solar thermal and thermal energy, especially for industrial level, and we also plan to engage certification body to establish industrial standard for thermal energy efficiency and solar thermal technology. And currently SEDA is monitoring, and they have online data and monitoring for photovoltaic system in Malaysia. So we would like also to engage SEDA so that we can also have online solar thermal monitoring system to do the project mapping and also data as reference for the public. And of course, collaboration, university, industry, government is very important. So UNIDO will also embark on a project to engage universities to get on how to get thermal energy data and to do study on the supply chain data and also to do more project and showcase project for solar thermal technology. And this is the photo of the stakeholder feedback session. This is the last one where I presented the final output of this exercise on 4th November 2019 in Putrajaya. So in this presentation, we share findings and the input that we obtain from stakeholders for the development of policy brief on solar thermal deployment strategy for Malaysian industry. So various participants from various stakeholders were joining us in this session. And if you can see the three people at the front, so they are from ministry and one is from UNIDO. Okay, and we are waiting for publication. Now vendor is designing this publication for dissemination to stakeholder. So 2 publication from this project with regards to the component 1, that is the policy. So we able to produce solar thermal market analysis for Malaysian industry and another document, solar thermal deployment strategy for Malaysian industry. So this will be disseminated. We expect to disseminate this around August and September. So with that, I would like to thank you for listening to my presentation. Of course, we will. If you have anything to ask, you can ask, and I'm happy to share. Thank you very much. I pass to you, Dr. Usha.
Thank you, Dr. Nofri. That was a wonderful presentation. And we could see the works, what you have been doing. And of course, you're trying to fill the gap in your own country. So
yeah, correct, Usha.
That's a biggest
I stop my sharing, yeah.
You have, and we are very happy to have such a person doing such a huge research work to, because energy is something which is essential for everybody in the world.
Yes, correct.
This is an awareness creation even for people who are non-electrical background.
Yeah.
And this is
and I know solar thermal have been used very long time in India.
Yeah, we are using.
From cooking, yeah, producing hot water, yeah.
In hostels and all, I mean, the students do a lot of projects like in hostels, they install the solar panels, and they make sure that they get the heating facility without using the electricity. Energy conservation projects are going on, and awareness creation is also going on, and really wonderful presentation. And I would request the participants to switch on your camera and your speaker, and you can talk to her, you can ask your doubts.
Hi, everyone.
Madam, you have a nice presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, you have any questions to ask Dr. Nofri?
I'm happy for any collaboration, engagement from all.
Yeah, we have a lot of researchers. The people here are all from prestigious universities and colleges who are working with very high potential, and a lot of researchers are going on, and definitely they'll be benefited with your presentation. And I'm very much eager to see the interaction of the participants with the speaker, because it's very difficult to get Dr. Nofri here. And we are very fortunate to have such a person who is working for a very huge project, which may be an inspiration for us too.
It's a nice presentation you have done. And also you have shown a lot of research avenues in this area. So young researchers can choose their field in the respective topics. Okay, thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that is one thing. You have to kindle certain areas where people will get an idea, like, why not I start working on this area?
Yeah.
He said a lot of challenges are being discussed here.
There are many R&D that could be developed in this area. Yeah, from the solar thermal collector to the integration of the system to the technology for the storage tank. Yeah.
And can I ask you, like, what are all the solar projects you have been doing in the university? You have initiated and implemented, and what University of Mara has been using?
Yeah, we have a large-scale solar farm, photovoltaic large-scale solar farm. So it's a 50 megawatt solar farm with a 300 acre on the 300 acre land. So our research center is located there, and we're doing study on system integration, energy storage system for the grid connected photovoltaic. Yeah,
Okay.
mainly on the system integration. Now we also have a researcher who for inverter technology, who focus on the basically on the system integration on the power system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how about the students, your UG students? Do they have research projects along with you people? Do they get exposed to the real life problems?
Yeah. Yes. For example, now our large-scale solar farm is already commissioned for like more than 1 year. So we started to have data collection from there. So we do like forecasting of energy production from this photovoltaic system. Yeah.
You have any solar car project?
At the moment, no. But yes, we plan also to have integration of electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in our
Campus.
large scale, yeah, campus. But for my research center, we plan to have electric vehicle in our solar farm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. So please, participants, you can interact with her.
Madam, good afternoon. I am Shanmugh Sundaram from Department of Mechanical Engineering.
Hello, sir.
I thank the host and the speaker, Professor Nouri. It was very informative.
Thank you very
Since I'm
much.
from design, I was able to understand how your electric and your solar are getting integrated nowadays. But we do have a center called Institute for Energy Studies where we offer ME Solar Energy and the ME Energy Studies, two different postgraduate courses. And a lot of people are working on solar systems as well as developing new materials for photovoltaic materials. So people from physics, people from Crystal Growth Center and the Department of Mechanical Engineering are integrating and trying to have a network wherein they offer solutions to the energy needs of the industry. So if at all, since I'm from design, I don't have much of the idea. But if you could share your email ID, I can pass it on to the professors of the Director Institute of Energy Studies. And also thank the host for conducting these kind of seminars wherein we are happy to connect with people from Malaysia and India. And hope in future we'll be able to collaborate and work together.
Sure. I will give my email to you, Dr. Usha, later.
Yes,
I think you have my you have my email.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All our researchers, Dr. Nofri, all your participants are highly qualified, highly enlightened with the latest technologies, and they are up to date. And this extension of sharing your experience outside our country, like we would like to know what is happening. Like, it's a learning time. COVID time is can be defined as a learning time where you can learn a lot from people whom you can't see them physically. So this opportunity has happened just because of this technology and the online.
Yeah, thank you for the good initiative.
Yeah, so we can bring anybody in the world to our place.
Yes.
That's the power we have using the technology and the interpersonal relationship what we have with you people. So very happy that with the busy schedule, all the 5 experts from University of Mara has agreed to be with us in this conference in this 5 days. And definitely some takeaway will be there for the participants. The inspiration, first of all, I get inspired with you all by seeing the work you're doing in a larger scale to even bridge the gap or fill the gap of the entire country. It's not only for a smaller area or not only for getting a certification, doing a project. When you start working on a live project, like so many people get benefited and you see a lot of challenges. As we said, the policies, the financial and the understanding of the government with the project, awareness creation, a lot of things are involved. So now you know where you need to rectify all those things. Only if you break all those glass ceilings, you will be able to achieve what we want. When the government will come to know that where we have the barriers. So that's wonderful.
Sometimes we only focus on, our research, but we actually have to focus on what are the needs of the industry, what are the needs of the government.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to be empathetic to know what is the requirement. Only then what you give will reach them. That is very, very essential. And please, participants, I would request some of you to interact with her.
Hello.
Hello.
Madam. Hello, madam. Myself, Anusha from VIT University, Chennai, India.
Hello, hi.
Hello, madam. I thank the host and as well as the speaker of the day. It was a wonderful session. Ma'am, I have I need some clarifications in the thing, like my research work is based on load balancing in terms of this carbon emission, reducing carbon emission. So how good this will be, the solar systems can be incorporated in terms of data centers? Well, will this entire data center can be made with the help of the solar system, or is that possible, or how could we can reduce the carbon emission in terms of industrial data centers, or we know like some certain data centers like Facebook data center, Google data centers we have, right? So how could this will help in reducing the carbon emission of the environment, or the globe?
Yeah, of course, in solar energy could help to reduce the electricity, but the data center is considered as a very critical load. So when you do integration of solar PV to the data center, you have to make sure that it won't, interrupt of the electricity. It has to be a good or systematic backup system, and because as you know, solar PV is interrupting, is an interruptible energy. But for sure, of course, solar energy from photovoltaic will help to reduce the load in data center. But again, you have to look not only on the reducing the CO2, but also the system, the technicality of the system to make sure that the power is the power supply to the data center is reliable. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your insights, madam. It was a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
Usha Kevin. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Anusia madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else? Can you all turn on your video so that we can have a virtual photograph? And if you have any difficulty turning on your video from our side, please open your speaker and please let us know. We would like to have everyone on screen, please. I request every one of you to turn on your video, please. It's a memorable experience, and with Dr. Nofri, it is a proud privilege for us to have a photograph. Please, I request all of you to turn on the photograph or your video, please. Yuvraj, Professor Yuvraj, please. I think another 1 minute, every one of you will be on video. Wonderful, wonderful to see you all. Very bright and glittering. Please, madam, few of you have not turned on your video, please. Professor Yuvraj, Professor Nachiyappan, Sureka, Professor Nimmala, Professor Eilarasan, Professor Rajarajeshwari. Kindly turn on your video, please. Well, shall we have the picture now? So I request you all to kindly smile. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All professors, thank you so much for your patient listening and attending our webinars. I hope we are not wasting your time. We would always love to give you some good content in the webinars organized by SEEK, and I hope you all are receiving the same. And also I request you people to give your suggestions on the webinars which we are going to organize in future, your suggestion topic, or if you would like to be a speaker for any of your expertise or any of your expert topic also, kindly let me know through my personal window in the WhatsApp. I would be very, very glad to take your suggestions and also to have you as a guest speaker. And Dr. Nofri, thank you so much for your time, wonderful time.
Thank you, Dr. Shri.
Really, I was amazed to see all your profile. It took nearly 2 to 3 hours to just go through what all you have done yesterday. And really, I was really very happy that I have you today morning in our session, and we are honored. And thank you to Professor Dr. Nazir sir for making it happen. Special thanks to him every day, and tomorrow we are going to have him in our session, and we are eagerly waiting for his experience and the knowledge he possesses. You know, we expect a lot of inputs he would be giving to all the educationists present here. We would be interested to know the practices what your Malaysian university is following, whereas we also have our own best practices, and we would like to add on to the practices what we have. We have wonderful professors and wonderful teachers who upgrade themselves, upskill themselves each and every minute, and very enthusiastic and interactive with our students. And we are really having a very good teaching fraternity, and the universities with a lot of technological facilities. Even in online, everybody is continuing in upgrading, or the teaching process is going on online. They have not stopped teaching the students. So that is the spirit of the teachers of our country, and very proud of all of them. And thank you so much, all the participants. And Dr. Nofri, thank you once again, and God bless you all. Thank you so much. We meet again tomorrow.
Don't forget the photo.
No worry, Nofri. You know my lightning speed, so I'll definitely.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye. Bye, all of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Wonderful audience. Thank you.